Hello and welcome once again to INSEAD's Leadercast series. I'm Charles Galenick, the Dean of the Executive MBA. We're fortunate to have with us today the CEO of Beiersdorf, Mr. Thomas Quaas. Welcome, Mr. Quaas.
Yeah, thank you very much for that welcome. It's the first time I am at INSEAD, and I'm looking forward to see people on campus here.
Your career is unusual in these days, because we see so many executives hopping from company to company and so on. And you've been with Beiersdorf since 1979. What advantages has that for you become? What advantage is that as a CEO now to have been with the company through your whole career?
Well, in '79, this is the kind of decision that you take when you go for your first career. I knew I wanted to work in the consumer goods industry, and I was looking for a company with a global brand, and there were a few companies in Germany, and Nivea was one of those. And then, therefore, I applied for a job in Hamburg, which is the headquarter of the Beiersdorf Group. In those days, Nivea was, yes, a global brand, but still pretty small. Now it has become the biggest skin and beauty care brand in the world, and so I was actually in the very comfortable position to be able to follow that brand from being there and now being really there. Being the CEO of the company now gives me, of course, looking back for so many years, the opportunity to really understand the company from more or less all the angles from where you can look at the company. So it gives me really insights about the history of the company, but on the other hand side, of course, also the current situation. So I can combine those elements quite well from my own interpretation.
Right, a tremendous brand recognition. I have to admit, in my household when I was growing up, I think my parents had little Nivea blue pots in every bathroom and in every room. So this is something we grew up with. Could you tell me a little bit about some of the milestones in your time as CEO? What are some of the things that you're most proud of that you've done with Beiersdorf, with the corporation?
Well, if you allow me, I go back to the responsibility that you have when you are in a company, whatever position you are in, when you run a business standing on brands, on global icons, brands where you have to have a lot of respect for. And whatever you do, whether you're a marketing director or a sales director or whatever you are, dealing with a brand, you have a huge responsibility. Now, being CEO of a company, this is, if you want so, the final position in order to make sure that you have a clear overview of what happens in a company and who is doing what with your brands. So what I'm doing here as one of the major milestones, if you want, so really make sure that we all work with that brand with the respect and with the respect from continuity to innovation. And this is what I'm doing all the day. I'm trying to make sure that whatever we do with the brand with respect to the future, we make sure that we don't forget the past. So this is a balanced thing, and this is actually my main responsibility.
So you're the overseer and protector of the brand images and so on, making sure that's consistent historically, it fulfills its original purpose and so on. What happens when you have autonomous units? Because now you're a large global organization, 22,000 people and so on. What happens when they have different rates of innovation or change, they want to go in different directions? How do you keep the whole together? How do you keep the whole strong and synergistic?
Here we have a huge advantage in the Beiersdorf Group. Our company is a very focused company. We only have 3 real global brands. Nivea is one of those, Eucerin is the other one, La Prairie, luxury brand is the third one, and a couple of local brands, okay, but 3 global ones. This is something where we are proud of because it's a focused strategy. And if you are so focused, you can have something which in my eyes is a dream of running a company, because it gives you the opportunity to have local thinking, local creativity. You can have all that and use this as input for a central decision process. So in this company here, we definitely can make sure that we involve and integrate all the people from all over the world who think they have great ideas for doing this and doing that, bringing those ideas on the table somewhere in the world or in our headquarters, discussing it, and then finally coming to a decision. The decision is not always the one that somebody from Singapore or from Chile, Santiago proposed, but at least all these people were involved in the process before the decision. That's how we actually try to have autonomous thinking and also then finally execution, but within a frame that we control actually all together on a global side.
So even though you're 22,000, you can make it seem, at least at some levels, much smaller than that. Do you have any policies of moving people across the global architecture, across your different structures? Is this something you try to do, rotate talent, or do you find that that's very difficult to do, to take people from regions and transplant them into other regions?
Yeah, this is something we really try to support with all the means that we have, because we truly believe that being global, you need to have people wherever they are, be it in headquarters or being in our affiliate in Shanghai or in Wilton in North America. We should always have people who have a local background, and we should have enough international people also there, and then working together, and that's what we support, and we move people around the world. And well, when I say we move people, that does not sound really good. We listen who is actually there and wants to do what, where in the world, and if people really tell us what they think is their dream to do in one part of the world, we try to help them in this respect, provided, of course, they have the qualification, everything you need for that.
So, because you do feel like a smaller company, even though 22,000 is not small, what are some of the core features of your culture? In order to keep people in line, obviously you cannot possibly reach out to all the people in the organization. You are a very old and historic company, and as you've developed in different parts of the world, you've transplanted, people have gone there. And so I imagine that the culture of Beiersdorf is very important to its stability. What are 2 or 3 key features of that culture, values or assumptions that people hold?
Being now 30 years in that company, I definitely am part of this cultural process, and I must say we still have that. What made me join that company in 30 years ago is still part of our culture, which is we respect people in this company to the maximum possible. If people come into this company and come up with ideas, you usually find other people who listen to your ideas, who listen to what you have to say, and you are always in the position to also do what you think is the right thing to do, on one hand side. On the other hand side, we try to link that individual, very personal, oriented cultural element with progress, with pushing forward and winning all over the world in the marketplace. And today we are the fastest growing company in our industry, by far, by the way. And this comes from a new sportive element, which we matched with this, if you want, so traditional cultural people-oriented thing. We call that we care for both success and people, and that combination, I think, is the most important cultural element of our company.
So your growth, I imagine a lot of it is coming from the East. Perhaps, what's your people strategy and your talent strategy in the eastern parts of the world, in Asia, China, and so on? How are you able to get enough talent to fulfill your growth ambitions and needs?
First of all, we try to work with the local people. If you have affiliates in Russia or in Latin America, we try to hire people who are from those countries, because we want to understand from the marketing people there, when they are in contact with consumers, which is the most important element to find new ideas for innovation, they need to understand and feel what's locally important, on one hand side. On the other hand side, going east, going into Asia, we of course try to have this kind of global combination of people there. So we go to the universities all over the world to present our company and to be attractive to the students there. Since growing the company at that speed, of course we need the people to make sure that this also happens in the future.
Once you bring in the talent, you have people working, innovating, and so on. What are the 2 or 3 things that you really look for in leaders within Beiersdorf? What traits or characteristics are fundamental to being a leader within Beiersdorf?
Well, in our company, I would go back to this personal cultural element. I'm looking for people who think when they are in the beginning of their career, you never know how you really then are able to work in an environment like this. But people who think about themselves, well, I would like to work in a company where people say it's the most friendly company in the world. People are nice to each other on one hand side. On the other hand side, when they go out and try to win a match, playing on whatever playground in Asia or in Europe or in Americas, then the mentality element has to be, we want to win. Right. We just don't want to play somewhere with a couple of brands, do some sales and this and that. When we go out there, we want to compete with our competition and make the points a little bit faster than the other ones.
So it's very tribal.
Yeah.
Inside, friendly, cooperative, but outside, aggressive and very competitive.
So that's the major element. And this is what not everybody is able to deliver or does not want to deliver. But in our case, I would like to have this kind of people here, because it is also the strength of the whole company.
I want to come back to you for one moment. So clearly you said that one of the advantages of being in Beiersdorf most of your career, all of your career, is that you really know the organization well. You know the different pockets, you've seen it grow and so on. But gaining an external perspective, gaining insights and ideas and innovation may be something you could imagine that a CEO that's bred and born in the company is missing. So how do you rejuvenate yourself? How do you pick up new ideas, new concepts for management and so on, and bring that into the organization?
Two answers to that. One is the professional one, or maybe a very personal one, and the second one, by the way, is also personal. The first one is I'm truly convinced, being in a consumer goods company, it might be different somewhere else, I don't know really, but in a consumer goods company, the top managers and actually everybody in the company must understand that the business is outside. The consumers are outside, and they are supposed to buy something that you produce in your inside, but in the final end, it should end up in the bathroom somewhere in the world again. So my work actually, and my being fresh all the time means traveling, and going to the places. Now, I think I spend 70% of my time not in my office in Hamburg City. So that's what we do out there, and then the only thing I can recommend is try to stay young, try to stay in contact with the young people in this world. And if you're lucky, not everybody is so lucky, but I have a wonderful family, 2 boys, and they bring all the young language, they bring all that new stuff also on a private basis to my home. Your
core strategy has 4 different pillars, and one part is called superior talent in a lean organization. Can you give us a little bit more detail on what that means?
Yes, you mentioned the 4 cornerstones of our strategic concept. That means that we, of course, deal with our brands. We have a very important focus on supply chain. We have a very important focus on regional pieces of the world where we really want to make the big points. And we want to do this with superior talent in a lean organization. And that again expresses we don't want to be a huge animal. We want to be very, very effective. And that's why you need great people. And we have a very systematic approach to assessing talent. When people come to us, of course, they are assessed already before they come to us. Then they are in their programs, program that we call Beyond Borders, where we help the young people who come to us to find their opportunities in the company, to make their first steps. And then we help them actually on their road to new jobs in the company. And then there will be some assessment again where we involve not only the people at headquarter level, we have also regional assessment. So doing all this, make sure that whenever a group of people comes together and decide for this or that position for a new person, we do this on the maximum transparency that you need about people in order to find the right position for the right person.
Okay, and the lean part means that you do all this with as few people as possible?
Absolutely. I'm 100% convinced when you have a clear description of the processes in your company, then you also have a clear view on how many people you need for what. And I prefer to have two people doing a certain job and coming back and say, well, I'm responsible for that, what we achieved, and not having 10 people in the room who just did something and finally only just contributing. So I prefer having clear assessment and assignment to certain jobs and then not too many people on that job and then coming home and then also being responsible for the success.
What do you think are some of the future workplace trends that you're seeing? Are there any trends that you're seeing both in terms of the needs of new talent or some of the ways in which talent work? It may have to do with IT, or whatever else? Do you see any trends within Beiersdorf?
I see a major element coming up to being able to oversee the whole thing. You can be whatever expert you want to be it in IT, be it on R&D side, be it in marketing, whatever you have. Yes, you can be expert, and then you can do a wonderful expert career. On the other hand side, you can only do that expert career if you are able to oversee the whole thing. So the entrepreneurial aspect of whatever job you have in a company is a very important element, and this is going to come.
We've talked about Thomas Quaas, the CEO. What about Thomas Quaas, the individual? What are some hobbies that you enjoy? What are some things from your personal side that probably contribute to your professional life as well? But what sort of things do you enjoy to do in your spare time?
Well, the good news is my biggest hobby is actually traveling. That's what I did when I was a schoolboy. That's what I did when I was a student. And that's what I'm now able to do, maybe with a better ticket in my pocket, but still I like to travel. And this is one of the hobbies that I really have, because it gives me the perfect chance to relax. And then, of course, I like to do some sport. I still play tennis, I do my jogging, and again, that also helps me to stay somehow in a good physical shape.
Do you exotic traveling, remote places in the world, or do you prefer city centers?
No, I actually like to go to the places where not all the tourists are, and still after 1 week then there, I like to go back to a good metropolitan area and enjoy a good steak.
Thank you very much, Mr. Quaas. Lovely to have you.
Thank you very much.